Hey there, everybody. It's back with another episode of The Daily Show. Today, I'll be reading along the Pride and Prejudice, Chapter 5. Within a short walk of Longbourn lived a family with whom the Bennets were particularly intimate. Sir William Lucas had been formerly in trade in Meryton, where he had made a tolerable fortune and risen to the honor of a knighthood by an address to the king during his mayoralty. The distinction had perhaps been felt too strong. It had given him a disgust to his business and to his residence in a small market town, and quitting them both, he had removed with his family to a house about a mile from Meryton, denominated from that period Lucas Lodge, where he could think that pleasure of his own importance and unshackled by business, occupy himself solely in being civil to all the world, for though elevated by his rank, it did not render him supercilious. On the contrary, he was all attention to everybody. By nature, inoffensive, friendly, and obliging, his presentation at St. James had made him courteous. Lady Lucas was a very good kind of a woman, not so clever to be a valuable neighborhood to Mr. Bennet. They had several children, the eldest of them a sensible, intelligent young woman, about 27, was Elizabeth's intimate friend. That the Miss Lucases and the Miss Bennet should meet to talk over a bowl was absolutely necessary, and the morning after the assembly brought the former to Longbourn to her and to communicate. "You began the evening well, Charlotte," said Mrs. Bennet, with a civil self-command to Miss Lucas. "You're Mr. Bingley's first choice." "Yeah, but he seemed to like his second better." "Oh, you mean Jane?" "I suppose, because he danced with her twice. To be sure that did seem as if he admired her. Indeed, I rather believe he did. I heard something about it, and I hardly know what. Something about Mr. Robinson. Perhaps you mean what I overheard between him and Mr. Robinson. Didn't I mention it to you? Mr. Robinson's asking him how he liked our Meryton assemblies, and whether he did not think there were a great many pretty women in the room, and which he thought the prettiest. And his answering immediately to the last question, "Oh, the eldest, Mrs. Bennet, beyond a doubt. There cannot be two opinions on the point. Upon my word, well, that was very decided indeed. That does seem as if... But, however, it may all come to nothing, My overhearings were more to the purpose than yours, Elsa, said Charlotte. Mr. Darcy is not so well worth listening to us, he friend, is he? Poor Elsa, to be only just tolerable. I beg you not to pick it into Lizzie's head to be vexed by his ill treatment, for he is such a disagreeable man that it would be quite a misfortune to be liked by him. Mr. Sloane told me last night that he sat close to her for half an hour without once opening his lips. Are you quite sure, madam? Is not there a little mistake? Said Jane. I certainly saw Mr. Darcy speaking to her. Because she asked him at last how he liked Netherfield, and he could not help answering her. But she said he seemed very angry at being spoken to. Miss Bingley told me, said Jane, that he never speaks much unless among his intimate acquaintance. With them he is remarkably agreeable. I do not believe a word of it, my dear. If he had been so very agreeable, he would not talk to Mr. Sloane, but I can guess how it was. Everybody says that he is ate up with pride, and I dare say he had heard somehow that Mr. Sloane does not keep a carriage, and had come to the ball in a hack chaise. I don't mind his not talking to Mr. Sloane, said Mrs. Lucas, but I wish he had danced with Elsa. Another time, Lizzie, said her mother. I would not dance with him if I were you. I believe, madam, I may civilly promise you never to dance with him. His pride, said Mrs. Lucas, does not offend me so much as pride often does, because there is an excuse for it. One cannot wonder that so very fine a young man with a family fortune, everything in his favor, should think highly of himself, if I may so express it. He has a right to be proud. This is very true, replied Elizabeth, and I could easily forgive his pride if I had not mortified mine. Pride, observed Mary, who piqued herself upon the solidity of her reflections, is a very common failing, I believe, by all that I have ever read. I am convinced that it is a very common indeed, that human nature is particularly prone to it, and that there are very few of us who do not cherish a feeling of self-complacency on the score of, some quality or other, real or imaginary. Vanity and pride are different things, though the words are often used synonymously. A person may be proud without being vain. Pride relates more to our opinion of ourselves, vanity to what we would have others think of us. If I were so if I were as rich as Mr. Darcy, cried a young Lucas who came with his sisters. I should not care how proud I was. I would keep a pack of foxhounds and drink a bottle of wine every day. Then you would drink a great deal more than you ought, said Mr. Bennet. And if I were to see you at it, I should take away your bottle directly. The boy protested that she shouldn't. She continued to declare that she would, and the argument ended only with the visit. That's all for today's Buddy of the Show. Thanks for your listening and participation as always. Please drop a like, comment, and subscribe me to my channel. And this is the best support in all time. And I will see you in my next couple videos. Bye.